Alright. Alright, y'all. So, today, obviously, not in, the usual spot, but it's okay. We gonna keep on going. And before I really start, I'm just gonna pray us in and all that. So just close your eyes, bow your heads. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for just bringing us all here together and preparing this word for me. And I pray that this word is sufficient and just good and correct. And I pray that whatever the youth here hears from me, they get to apply it in their lives and it actually speaks to them and pertains to them. And so, Lord, I just thank you and just continue to provide for us, Lord. I beg you so that we can glorify your name to the day we die and forever after. In Jesus' name I pray, Lord. Amen. Amen. All right. So, today, I'm going to go over the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and 2. But before I really get into it, like usual, I always got to have some context. So, book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, it's like paired usually with Proverbs and Psalms and all that. And it's a book of wisdom. So it's just like a bunch of smart stuff, a bunch of practical things that you could put into your life. And so, basically, the title of it is like a Hebrew word, and it's Qualet. So it's like, it's really weird word, but the word just means gather, or like also translated into teaching, like teachings, gathering of teachings, And so it supports the idea that, because what we know about Ecclesiastes is it sort of feels like it's written by King Solomon because there's a lot of wisdom in it, and if y'all don't know, he's like the wisest king of ever. And so, but the thing is, we see in the language of the title, and if we look into like historical evidence, it couldn't really have been written by him, and I'll get more into that. But it's usually attributed to King Solomon, or just his teachings, more of. So like his Psalms and his Proverbs and all that. And so it's not fully confirmed. But that's because Solomon, he was king in the 6th century, and he was king for like 40 years. But then, the book of Ecclesiastes is dated from the 10th century, so that's like 300 years, 400 years, that dude did not write that in. But, so, it's just believed that it's a collection of his teachings and all that from the time he was, a king. But also, we'll see, in the writings, the style of it is sort of it feels like someone was writing it about themselves, but in actuality, there's also other parts of the scripture that sort of criticize him as well. So I believe that it wasn't him who wrote it, but that's aside from the point. So who is the audience of this book as well? It's written for us, Christians, fellow Christians. So you can show this book to a new person in faith or person without faith, but as y'all may know, the tone of this book is very sad and depressing. But it's for us Christians to, who are skeptical or who are a bit lost, or just for Christians who understand, that God is in our own lives. And I'll get deeply into that later. And some call this book, even though it's a book of wisdom, the book of fools, because there's a common term within the book, and you'll hear it a lot as we go through it, called under the sun, meaning in the perspective of humanity. So we're looking a lot into this perspective of people, which is people are foolish, and so it's a lot of in and outs. It gets weird, but yeah, basically, even in the writing and how this book is presented, it sounds like it's from someone who doesn't really believe in God or follows God. But obviously, the book is meant for us to, navigate this and have an understanding of life, but also having an understanding of how people without God see life And so that's why I really like this book. It spoke to me a lot while I was in school. And so yeah, now I'll just get into the chapter. Y'all can pull out obviously Ecclesiastes 1, but I'm not gonna wait for y'all. So I'll just start reading it out. Oh shoot. Alright. All is vanity. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Oh, and by the way,
what's your Bible again?
ESV. As I go through, I will like be explaining stuff about the word, so it's not like our usual Bible studies. But anyways, the word of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. So, as we know, like, this preacher guy, this teacher guy in this book is believed to be Solomon. And as it says, it's from someone in the lineage of David, of King David, which if you don't know, the same lineage as Solomon. Like Solomon came way after David, and David's an important figure, and that same lineage has Jesus in it as well. And so this is an important, lineage, and this means that this person has a lot of power, no matter who they were in their lifetime, because if they're part of this lineage, that means that they're a king. If they're a man and they're part of this lineage, they're most likely a king, and so, or in royalty. And so we know this person has a lot of power, and this whole first two verses encapsulates that, but also how they see that things are just useless. And so then just setting the tone for the text. Verse 3, what does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? And so this means what do we gain? In the perspective of humanity, what do we gain? When we're not looking at what we sense, so the five senses, touch, taste, sight, hearing, and I forgot the other one of them. But when it comes to the five senses, what is there to gain besides anything pertaining to that? What does it mean if I can't what does a celebrity mean to me if I can't hear what they're saying, or if I can't read what they're writing, or something of the sort? Or what does some piece of food to me all the way in Africa mean to me if I'm not going to taste it or try it or hear about people talking about it? What does it pertain to me? Anything in this world that has nothing to do with it. And so then verse 5 through 6, or no, 4 through 7. Yeah. So a generation goes, a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north. Around and around goes the wind, and on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they flow again. So basically, there's a lot of imagery about how things on Earth. There's a lot of cycles on Earth in nature. You might just learn in science class and all that. The rivers, they flow water, and then the water sits out of place, like a lake or a beach, and the sun, hits on it and evaporates that water, and it goes up to the clouds, and then it does it all over again by rain. Stuff like that.
The water cycle.
But but that's what this book is using, that type of imagery. So it's it's using a bunch of stuff that we already know, from freaking 3rd grade, just to say that basically this world always moves. You could live your life and do whatever. You could be as rich as you could be, or you could just be a bum. But it doesn't change the fact that there's that water cycle, or it doesn't change the fact that there's the weathering cycle, of rocks breaking, mountains forming, stuff like that.
And we are all subject of the same circumstance.
Yeah.
You cannot say that something can happen only for someone else, and just because you know God, it's not gonna happen to us, or our circumstances gonna be better than someone else. We are all subject of the same thing, the word.
And it's also to add on to the point, like, we are subject to this thing, and we can't change it. Like I said, you could be as rich as you want, but you can never change these cycles. Like, you could see, like, these giant cities all over the world, but at a point, when they stop being, we stop putting concrete onto the roads, or asphalt onto the roads, nature's gonna break through. Plants are gonna break back through, and it's gonna destroy everything. So it's just like, the things that we create will always, fall back into dust. And verses 8 through 9, all things are full of weariness, a man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. So, it's kind of clear. There's like a hole in our heart. Like, Christians always describe it like there's a hole in our heart that only Jesus could fill. And that's true. And that's what this book is saying. Like, we always have a desire, with our five senses, we always have a desire to feel through them. We always have a desire to, eat as much food and taste the best taste. We always have a desire to, see vast, an array of things like movies, views, nature, money, or just exotic, nice things. We always have a desire to hear good music, or just to, hear affirmations of other people and hear that people like us and stuff like that. We always have these desires that can never be satisfied. And that's what the book is saying. And everything we do to fulfill it is always in vain. Always just never enough. So, for example, it's also saying we might build great technology and have big cities and have crazy planes, crazy cars, all that stuff. We have the internet and AI now, and it's all cool and giant to us, but in the grand scheme of things, if we really think about it, the things that we have now, it's just a peak of civilization that all other civilizations have had before. And yeah, it's in a different font, but it doesn't mean it's any more spectacular than back then. People are always oh, we're the smartest we've ever been. But it's we got kids now, your age, that can't even read past the 3rd grade level, And so it always just goes up and it always goes down, goes up, goes down. And that's just a cycle of things. And as verse 9 says, and there is nothing new under the sun. So there's nothing new under our perspective, right? These things, these crazy heights that we reach, aren't enough to fulfill, our desires. And it's not new in the cycle of things. That's what this book is saying. And so, 10 to 11, is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new. It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things, yet to be among those who come after. And so, it just further reiterates what I've been saying this whole time. Never satisfied, and even yet, nothing's ever really new. For example, let's take the internet. The internet is literally, as we use it and as you see it, it's literally just a place that contains information and for communication. We've always had communication and information before, places to do both or separately. Now, obviously, with the internet, I can speak to someone from China in 2 days. Okay, maybe not China, but speak to someone from Japan. Yeah. I can speak to someone in Japan in like the span of like minutes. Yeah, I said 2 days. That's even less. It's like minutes, right? But back then, like it would take weeks for a letter to be delivered or something. Exactly. Hey. Too literal. But like it's true. Like there's always been a process, but still, it's like these processes, like sure they're quicker and stuff like that, but it's the same thing, like it's the same like thing, just in a different light, in a different look, stuff like that. Like clothes, they're always clothes, they always keep us warm, they just look different. Or like music is always music, it just sounds different, or it's just different instruments, different technology, like there's stuff like that. And so it's also for us to understand like human nature has always been the same too. Like we have a big eyeglass on things like depression, anxiety, like different mental health things, and it's not even that they're more prevalent, it's just that we actually look at it now, But if you look into things like anything like to do with the LGBTQ, anything to do with like mental illness, it's always been around. It's just a lot more prominent now because we put that emphasis on it.
And everything that's coming from the humanity, it's always there. Like the point is sometimes we didn't know about that yet. We have no knowledge to understand about it. But if it's nature, it's already there. God created everything. We are limited.
And also think about it like this, like let's take like your phones, right? Back when she was our age, like that's not even disrespectful. It's not even disrespectful because I could go back into when I was a kid, because the iPhone, like the iPod Touch just came out when I was like a little kid, right? So like even for me,
the Samsung was on the text message. It was wow.
See, like even to me, like there was a revolutionary. Oh my gosh, because okay, when iPhone came out, it wasn't straight just when iPhone came out, I wasn't straight just like iPhone. It was like there's a BlackBerry, there's some straight flip phones, and
What's a BlackBerry?
really
Can we description?
phone. It's just a flip phone, like there's like the flip ones, there's the ones where it like slides out in and out. This is like it gets ridiculous, bro.
Back at his age, 2000.
Basically, yeah.
And 5.
Yeah. But essentially, like,
Those 3 years.
but listen, the point is not about the freaking BlackBerry. It's about when the iPhone came out, it was so revolutionary, right? But to y'all right now, it's just like the most regular thing ever. Like, it's sort of a standard, because, like, you can have your Android and stuff, but then, like, people will be like, oh, you need that iPhone. But still, like, there's not an extraordinary sense to it like it was when it first came out. Or even, like, with AI right now, there's like oh my gosh, this thing's gonna destroy everything. But at a point, the next generation will be so used to it that it's not as revolutionary as it was for us. So that's like the whole point. Like cars too. Back in 1920s, like, oh my gosh, this motor vehicle that goes 20 miles per hour, it's so amazing. Now we have cars that go 200 miles per hour, and it's okay to us, it's whatever. And that's just about it. Nothing is new under the sun. And so verse 12 to 18, the vanity of wisdom. I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who are over Jerusalem before me. And my heart has great experience of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my heart to know wisdom, and to know that madness and folly. I perceived that this also is but a striving after one. For much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Now, so let me reiterate before I keep going. This is still in the eyes of humanity. So like, it's kind of contradictory towards like Proverbs, which will tell you like wisdom is good and wisdom is like will bring you life. But that is in the sense that you are with God. So in this sense, this perspective where you're not with God, wisdom is the opposite. So there's a distinction. Alright, so just keep that in mind. But this even shows that even us trying to understand this, like understand these cycles and understand, or just find out more, like how to break out of it essentially, how to, how can I have a big enough impact? How can I have a big enough name to where this cycle doesn't even affect me? Like how can I be a Mozart or Michael Jackson or something? Which at a point they'll be forgotten too. But how can I be one of these figures that will have such an impact on this world, right? The thing is, you won't. And you trying to find out how to do that in your own interest, for your own interest, is exactly what's going to bring you more sorrow. And that's exactly what Solomon tried to do, because he was the most wise. And so,
Has you ever seen a foolish person sad? They usually are happy with everything. They laugh about everything, like everything's fine, everything's good, like they make joke about every situation. But as more wisdom you get, more understand about our perspective of life, you gotta be more worried. You want to change things, and you are limited.
basically, like as we learn more, we realize we know less.
Yes, sir.
And so, if the heart is seeking to break from the cycle, with knowledge, it'll only confirm that the cycle exists even more. And so that's exactly what happened to, Solomon. And so, moving on to chapter 2. Alright. Ready? I said in my heart, verse 1 and 3. I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure, enjoy yourself. But behold, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure, what use is it? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. Now so, the teacher here, Solomon here, after knowing he can't do anything, understanding all of this, understanding what I just told all y'all, knowledge just means nothing at this point, right? And so now he's focusing on feeling and fulfilling these pleasures. Because if you're not gonna, if I'm not gonna know nothing, if that's not gonna do anything, why not just put my all into feeling good? And he's still, but in the third verse, he's still hoping to gain the knowledge to escape these cycles, as the wording says. I search for my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly until I might see. So till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven. So till I might see. So he's doing this as an experiment. He's trying to feel good as an experiment, and just waiting to see if he'll get the answer instead by just going through things. So, verse 4 to 11. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I had also great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. And I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it, and behold, all was vanity, and the striving after wind, and there was nothing to be gained from under the sun. And so, at this time, like the 600 BC, at this time, bro literally had everything. Like, there's not as much emphasis on popularity or like, having things. Actually, no. It's just like, imagine like Mr. Beast or like a Elon Musk or something. Like the richest of the rich, like got everything. Like, or like a Trump, like you literally have everything. Like you have access to everything. You're chilling, like you're invincible basically, like in the eyes of man at least. It still doesn't mean anything. Like they're still striving for more. Like if you look at Mr. Beast or even Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, like they're constantly striving for more. Every like insanely rich person is still striving for more. And as Brody Solomon sees, like it doesn't mean anything. Like the world still moves on. Like Solomon was super rich and all that, but like, okay, what does that mean today? Besides, the information he left for us. And that's a whole nother point. But what does like his riches, all that he's done, all the heights of his life, what does that mean right now? Right? Or like what does that mean for any old king? And what will that mean for our current politicians and billionaires?
Can I give you an example?
Alright, so basically what happened was essentially the camera died, and yeah, so the whole like second half of the my message got cut out, but I'll just finish it here right now. And to continue off of the point I was making, essentially Solomon had everything that he wanted or could ever want, especially in the time that he came from, and it still essentially meant nothing, right? And so I'll go through verse 18 to 26 or 12 through 17. So, the vanity of living wisely. So I turned to consider wisdom and madness and folly. For what can the man do who comes after the king? Only what has already been done. Then I saw that there is more gain in wisdom than in folly, as there is more gain in light than in darkness. The wise person has his eyes in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. And yet I perceive that the same event happens to all of them. Then I said in my heart, what happens to the fool will happen to me also. Why then have I been so very wise? And I said that in my heart, that this is also vanity. For of the wise as of the fool, there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that in the days to come, all will have been long forgotten. How the wise dies just like the fool. So I hated life, because what is done under the sun was grievous to me, for all is vanity and a striving after wind. And so essentially here, as we see, Solomon tried filling his life up with things that would pleasure him and give him, make him feel good, right? But he realized that even after all that, it doesn't fulfill anything. He still has that hole in his heart. And so now he realizes that even if he is wise, no matter what type of life he lives, whether it's wise or, unwise, and having good consequences and bad consequences, a good future, a bad future, a good legacy, a negative one, that, just in itself, it's all useless. Because, it's basically like this. When, you live your good life, right? Let's say that. You're just going to die and lose it all. And sure, you could say, I'll leave it for the next generation so it could keep improving and improving. But Solomon mentions here that you don't know how to act with that. Like, he worked so hard for, what he gained, that the next generation might not even know what to do with it. And even if they do, they're all going to come to the same realization. So it's essentially, even being wise, none of it really matters. And even just, like, being, unwise or stupid, I'd say, for lack of a better term, it still doesn't matter, because there's quite literally nothing to gain. It all goes away at some point. And so verse 18 to 26, the vanity of toil. I hated all my toil, in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool, like I just said. Yet he will be a master of all for which I toiled, and used my wisdom under the sun. This is also vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun. Because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not toil for it. This is also vanity and a great evil. What has man from all the toil and striving of heart with which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is a vexation. Even in the night his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. There is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also, I saw, is from the hand of God. For apart from him who can eat or who can have enjoyment, for to the one who pleases him, God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he has given the business of gathering and collecting, only to give to one who pleases God. This is also a vanity and a striving after wind. Now, so, like I said already, what you do could be passed down, but essentially doesn't mean anything if it all goes to the same cause, if it all goes to the same death, right? And that is simply in the eyes of humanity, or in a human earthly perspective. Now, besides that point, in the eyes of the teacher and humanity, like, even if we do what God says, we're still a part of this cycle. We're still a part of living and dying for nothing, working and, doing all that for nothing, building for nothing. And so, but that is in the perspective of humanity, because, a point of a person, or a point of Solomon here, is to break off this cycle, break out of this. And when there's no God in their life, when there's no God in this equation, right? When it's just themselves, then essentially, not even if there's no God, but more specifically, in their minds, if nothing they can do because of their pride, if nothing they can do can break out of this cycle or break them out of this cycle, then not even God can. And in the eyes of humanity, in any other worldview that has nothing to do with any sort of God, the cycle is just all the same. And to Solomon at the time, and atheists and non-believers, in the eyes of them, right, this is just a social club. Christianity is just a group of people who continue in this cycle to support each other. They help each other with, like, wealth, socialization, trips, and literally anything you could think of. It's like people who live together. And in the eyes of, non-believers and Solomon at the time, everything that we do as Christians is the exact same thing as everything they do, because it all is nothing in the eyes of earth under the sun. Now, so, here's the thing. This is the application of it, right? There's two main differences of our circumstance compared to non-believers and King Solomon at this time. The key difference between us and the teacher, right, is two things. We have God, who is in control of the cycle, and he sent Jesus over, right? He sent Jesus down to earth, and Jesus came, didn't sin, and died for our sins, and came back to life 3 days later. And he freed us from this by saying, if you follow me, you will have infinite life. You will have life in eternity, with me. And so, just by that alone, we have a God that's capable of breaking this cycle, and that has done it for us. And we serve a God, and we serve this God not to break from this cycle. Like, we're not necessarily worried about the same things that a non-believer or Solomon was at the time. We're more concerned about having a genuine connection and relationship with God. And so that's exactly what happens as a result of this relationship and us striving for God himself and this connection, right? We naturally just break this cycle. And so now, with what I want to tell you, besides the circumstances, remind yourself, if you're a Christian, and as a Christian, the text is trying to show you that, your career, schooling, social life, wealth, skills, knowledge, and power, it all means nothing if it's for you. And if it's for, your, like, if it's for your goals, if it's for your salvation, it all means nothing because it can't save you. It's like these things are confound and compiled into the things of earth, right? How can it take you out? Sure, in a physical sense, you could build a rocket ship, but it's not the same. You still apply to the same rules. And so that's what this book is telling us, and reminding us, to us Christians, that these rules and regulations, we can't break out of it with, things that still apply to these rules and regulations, right? And second is Jesus is that fulfillment. And that's just what I said, like earlier, how Jesus came down and he already took care of it all. He already got, through this cycle. He already broke the cycle. And all these other cycles, he's the one that, has control over the cycles of the earth, over the cycle of life and death, over the cycle of sin. And he's giving us a way out by letting us follow him and by letting us have community and communion with him. And so another thing too is, here's the thing, there's a process to this all. The process that the preacher went through specifically, that I believe all non-believers and all people without Jesus go through. You see, we're born and we learn things about the world. We learn about these cycles and they become second nature to us. And then we feel this emptiness that Solomon feels, right? And when we try learning how to break out of it, how to, get free from it, then we fail and we start feeding into our pleasures, into our desires of the heart. And then, then we come to the same conclusion. It's all useless. And so after learning all of that we can't feel it, then it's just a continuous cycle. It's a, I hate life, or I hate this form of existence. And so some people choose to continue to live on with it. Some people choose to try to break free of it. And some people choose to just, unfortunately. And so essentially the whole point is Jesus is that fulfillment. And for any Christian or non-Christian, this is exactly what the book of Ecclesiastes is trying to tell us, that Jesus is the only way. And this is a perspective from someone who had everything, but also a look into human nature that we all feel and have. And some of us have so much pride, or too much pride to admit, but quite honestly, this is what I believe, and I'm quite sure that this is what the Bible is trying to say and what the book of Ecclesiastes is trying to say. But other than that, if this is something that resonates with you, then the only way that you can fix this problem, fix these cycles, is through Jesus and following him and trusting your life towards him. And that's about it. So thank y'all for listening and subscribe.